you're
Because
paying
my
for
mom
it, so.
named him,
Well, we
his
can't
name is
keep part of it.
after Chaucer.
Anyway,
Oh, okay.
My mom was an English, so he was
up here, I don't
and so it's like
understand
the perfect architectural
Yeah?
for him.
Yeah, no, it was
I think it's recording.
definitely right. Well, mine says, every so often they miss
5
it,
o'clock
it's
and
not,
8
and
cents.
Yeah, how long were you there?
11 years.
Something weird.
Oh, yeah.
When you're reading it, I'm not
I had vision and stuff like this.
Okay.
Well, I was a part of there as well. We'll talk about it.
I'll probably never go there.
It's 2 hours away.
Sherry tells me Big Brother is watching 2 minutes early, so. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the City of Ojai Historic Preservation Commission. Being held today, Thursday, February 13th at 5 o'clock in the council chambers. We will do a roll call, please, Sherry.
Chair Akins,
Here?
Vice Chair Quinn.
Here.
Commissioner James.
Here.
Commissioner Convery.
Here.
Commissioner McHatton,
Here.
and 2 vacancies.
2 vacancies. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great, thank you all. Okay, public communications, member of the public, when they show up, if they show up tonight. Members of the public wishing to address the Historic Preservation Commission on items appearing on the agenda are requested to complete a speaker's card and file it with the secretary. Cards are available in the council chambers lobby. All comments should be limited to 3 minutes unless additional time is granted by the chair. Speakers should state their name and address for the record and must direct their comments to the chair, not the audience or press. While the Historic Preservation Commission is in session, members of the commission, city staff, and members of the audience are expected to maintain order and decorum and to obey the orders of the chair. So, first item of business is the museum representative report. That's me. So coming from Museum Director Wendy Barker, the Ojai Valley Museum recently opened a new exhibition, 22 Miles, Ojai Valley Landscapes, featuring artwork of the valley by fine artists from throughout Southern California. By the way, the 22 miles is the distance between the 2 folks that are putting the exhibit on. One located this side of Santa Paula and the other in Miners Oaks. The opening reception on February 1st was extremely well attended with more than 450 people visiting the museum in 2 hours. I'm not sure we could do that even if we lined them up outside, but I got there on the back half, so you could actually walk through. Very nice attendance. We've had great attendance since then. Third Friday on February 21st will highlight the exhibit and also feature live music by Babette and Bob between 5:30 and 7:30 p.m. By the way, that's done in conjunction with the festivals group. They're the ones that are getting the live entertainment and providing it on the third Friday, so thank you for that. Family Fun Day Sunday is a new monthly program with free admission on the last Sunday of the month. It kicked off in January with 101 children and adults having fun with Bubbles, led by Dennis Shives. On February 23rd is Hands-on Fast Crafts. It is a drop-in program between 1 and 3 p.m. Community time during that time with the children in your life to enjoy making crafts at the museum. So thank you, Ojai Valley Museum. Then we'll move on to consent item. That's the minutes for January 9th, 2020. Do we have any changes? No? How about a motion then?
Motion to approve the minutes?
Okay, second?
A second.
Okay.
James,
Yes.
Convery,
Yes.
Quinn,
You know, I wasn't here, but I did watch it on TV. Can
Yeah,
I vote then?
of course.
Yes.
Akins,
Here.
McHatton.
Here.
Next time I'm on flight, I'll see if I can pull it up on the flight back and attend. I love that. Let's see, there we go. Okay, next item on the agenda is disclosure of site visits and ex parte contacts. I'm not sure if we needed any of those this month, but we'll check just the same. Okay, now to discussion item number 2. Proposed plaque language for City of Ojai Historic Landmark number 27, the Estelle Clark House, located at 520 Foothill Road. The chairs determined that Cindy Convery did not have a conflict of interest.
Okay, good. I actually have couple little suggestions, if we're ready for that part of the conversation.
Well, staff report
Oh,
first.
staff report,
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah, there's really not much to say here. It is the plaque, the draft language of the plaque is attached as a part of this agenda report. As you all will recall, this did come before this commission, and then recently back in December, I want to say December 10th of last year, the council voted on this matter. So now we're to the point with the plaque. So the draft language has been attached to the agenda report and certainly open for discussion. Staff is recommending approval unless there are changes to be made, in which we can certainly dive into the details on that.
Okay, great. And just for the public information, the Estelle Clark is now Cindy Convery's lovely home, and she did a lot of work in restoring that. So we're very pleased to have your home and talk about the plaque that will go on it. So, Cindy, do you have any suggestions?
Well, I was, actually Thais brought it up too, the third sentence at the top where it says the Estelle Clark House exemplifies a rare example, et cetera, et cetera. I think the wording could be a little different because like Hollywood Ojai, I don't know, it's a little confusing to me, but if it goes something like the Estelle Clark House exemplifies a rare example of the 1920s Tudor Revival architectural style and is a classic example of an early Hollywood era Tudor Revival in Ojai. Something along those lines.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's
I
too long of
haven't
a sentence.
refined it, but you see where I'm going? So do you mind if I mean, we'll go through the rest of it, but I can type it up and, okay. And then down a little further, the only other thought I had was, it's the fourth sentence up in the second paragraph. It says, an arrow slit window. It actually has a couple. So it would be arrow slit windows.
Okay, what's the sentence start
Second
with?
sentence at the bottom, arrow slit window.
Oh, there we go.
It's plural. That's just a correction, arrow slit windows.
Which one's plural?
Arrow
Windows?
slit windows.
Okay, windows is plural.
So yeah, this sentence in the first paragraph needs to be a little more refined, and then that is my only change.
Cindy, can you tell me what an oriole bay? What's an oriole?
It goes like that and like that. It's a bay window,
Oh,
but they
okay.
called it at that time an oriole bay window because it had a roof over it like
Okay.
that, and it has leaded panes in it.
Oh, okay, great,
You
thank
can
you.
actually see
Question.
it from the street, and it was called out in the report
Yeah, there's
as
a
that.
photograph of it.
Mhm.
I have
Okay,
a
great.
question.
Yeah.
Is
Yes, Commissioner
Austin
James.
Pierpont, is he the owner and the architect, or was there a separate architect?
He was the architect.
Oh, he was, okay.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of Pierpont houses, and I thought they were owned by the Pierponts. Oh, okay.
No.
No.
Oh, they were designed.
Okay.
Either that or he
There's the
lived in a
Pierpont
lot of
cottage.
places.
Yeah, no, he was the architect.
I have a question. So if
Yes.
it gets typed up and then sent back to you, that means it has to come back to us the following month?
On your recommendation tonight, if you're comfortable with us just moving forward, you can approve it, or you can ask it to come back. It's up to you.
Well, do we want to try to approve it? Just to,
I have one more correction though
Sure.
first, I think it's a correction.
Yes,
So
Commissioner.
right in the line
Vice
right
Chair Qu-
above the arrow slit windows,
Uh-huh,
it says leaded pane and wood pane casement windows. It should be, I mean, there's no wood panes.
yes,
so
there are. Upstairs, there are wood mullions.
Oh, yeah, wood
So
window.
they're,
You
they're wood
can't look
mullions.
out of it?
They're upstairs,
I mean,
casement windows, and the mullions are made of wood instead of lead.
okay, then we should maybe call that out a different way, because it sounds like they've made a mistake and you're like trying to say wood framed.
Other defining
windows.
features of the two-story house are gables over exterior doors, leaded pane windows. I don't even think we need
Wood
it, because
pane.
wood casement windows aren't a big deal. I don't think they matter.
Should we get rid of pane and
Yeah,
just
I
have
think it
wood
should
casement?
say
Yeah.
gables over exterior doors and leaded pane
Okay,
windows.
that clears it up. 'cause
Lose the
it's-
wood,
Oh, okay.
everybody had wood pane casement windows. Probably
Okay.
like right there, wood pane casement window.
Oh,
Okay.
No, the pane is the glass.
That's true.
But the wood is the mullion, so, you know,
Yeah,
anyway, it's a
So I'm
wording
just saying,
thing.
yeah, so I'm just saying, let's make
Yeah.
the wood, make it clear.
Yeah.
But it's the
just
outside of
erase
the
it
window, yeah,
and make it go away.
outside of the
So-
pane.
I ask something?
Yeah, just, I'm still confused. So what would we do with that sentence?
Make the wood
Just
pane
taking the words
casement
out.
goes away.
Okay. And wood pane casement?
Brian, it would say, other defining features of the two-story home are gables over exterior doors and leaded pane windows.
Okay, so we're
Period.
taking out and wood pane casement.
But wood
Well, not-
pane
well, not
windows are a
period,
defining
because-
feature of that style, though.
Because we're going on to the arrow slit
Not-
windows
no.
and so on.
So not an and.
Because that's what they had in those days, but.
What?
No, they didn't,
We're
they had
taking-
lead.
We're taking out and wood pane casement. We're leaving leaded pane
Well, in
windows.
Well, yeah,
1500.
leave casement in.
Oh, no, we're talking, I'm talking the revival
All the
stuff.
way up.
It was the
Yeah,
20s to the
I'm
40s.
just trying to
yeah.
figure out what
Tudor
Cindy
style.
wants.
Anyway, I wrote
She's
the
saying.
report with the guide.
Cindy,
What?
read it for us one more time.
Other defining features of the two-story home are gables over exterior doors and leaded pane windows. I mean, I don't think you have to list every defining feature in that sentence,
So then
because,
that's a period, and then
period, yeah.
do we go on to the
Oh,
arrow
wait.
slit
No, it
windows?
should
No.
be just a comma.
Oh,
It's just a
leaded
comma.
pane
So it
windows,
shouldn't be an and.
Comma.
arrow slit windows, an oriel bay window with casement, a Tudor
No,
front door.
no, it's still A-N, N.
With a D, she already added that earlier.
What?
You read it.
No, what?
I can't read anymore.
Okay, so you don't really need
No.
the with casement either, do you? Just when it says an
I would
oriel
make-
bay window?
I don't know why that got in there. I
So
don't-
I'm just thinking,
Yeah, I would say an oriel bay window, erase
take out
with casement.
with
Yeah.
casement.
An
What
oriel
does
bay
casement
window.
mean, you guys?
Cranks open,
Oh, okay.
cranks closed, that's a
Okay.
casement window.
Okay.
So, I have no problem working this out after the fact, but is there a way that it could just be sent to all of us so we can, it's just, we had a couple of
Yeah.
times where we've spent money and then had to redo it. I don't want to do that again.
Oh, yeah, good point.
So,
Here's kind of my thought process with this, and this is me going through the first process of
Right.
So the thought is that we could read this into the record to ensure that that's why I think we're working through some of this detail and read it into the record so that we all know and understand. And we could even read it twice if that's necessary to ensure that that language is consistent versus saying we're striking this, adding this, and then take a vote on it. If you read it into the record, it makes it much easier and
Right.
certainly provides a lot of clarity in terms of how that would work. Which then I can understand where you're coming from, Commissioner McHatton, in terms of wanting to take a final look at it. That final look could very well be that reading it directly into the record.
I'd just like to say, it doesn't sound the same as it looks. So if, I kind of go along with Commissioner McHatton that just see it, because as we're just sitting here talking about it, we're saying it differently, you know, and then another person goes, well, what about, so I think that we could maybe we could put it in a motion that we look at it by email and write yes or no, or
I
something
don't
like
think
that.
we can.
Well, yeah, the problem is that they can send an email to all five of us, but we can only send emails back to
Correct,
them.
That's right.
So we're going to send an email back to them. They're going to say, okay, Commissioner Combry says this back to us. And then Commissioner McHatton has said this. And they're like, okay, wait a second, Commissioner McHatton said this. And it's
I have an
a
idea.
telephone thing.
Why don't, I think we got most of the changes. Are there any other, so why don't I just quickly wrote it up. Why don't I read through it,
Okay.
see how it feels? We'll do the email thing, and I have a feeling there won't
Just
be.
in terms of I just want to clarify. In terms of the email,
Yeah.
it feels like we're taking actions on something that hasn't been vetted out through the public
What I was
process.
gonna
Yes.
say,
I see.
So
before
I prefer that it
the rest of
stay.
the sentence was, if Sherry sent us an email with the language, we would either respond, we need to add it to the agenda, or I approve, or we accept it. Can we do
I don't even
that?
feel comfortable about
Okay.
that. I would prefer that it stay within the.
Okay.
Can we just do it now?
Yeah, we can do it now.
Okay.
Well, sorry, I have one more thing to say. Well, I remember when I had my architecture class down at USC, and the guy from Glendale, he was the historic preservationist for Glendale. He was talking at length about revival-style wooded windows, that those were actual features of all the revival style, because it's not going back to the 1500s. That would be, we're not.
But was he
this is
talking specifically about Tudor revival, or Hollywood revival, or
revivals.
Craftsman?
Every
Yeah, but,
revival.
so I think what's happening here is, we're talking about Tudor revival specific features, which were specifically leaded windows, and that was in the report that came in for approval, that you got a copy of.
Yeah,
know
well,
what I mean?
didn't look at that detail, but I just know that the revival styles, and that he was saying, and we're not gonna let this, unless they put the wooded window in, we're not gonna let it go through, they're real particular. So, I can look that up too. Oh,
It's in the report, but it's not per se a Tudor revival specific era. It's a 20s era thing,
It's
but
a
it's not.
20s.
Yeah, this is about Tudor revival.
But these styles are from, the
It says-
revival style goes
yeah.
from 1920 to 1945.
Right, we're on other examples of the Tudor revival style.
This is Tudor, the revival, anything revival is revival of the past, and it came after World War I.
Right,
Yeah,
but
it
it's
did.
Tudor revival, not general revival.
But I think we are already past that point because we already did the report and we
you.
approved the report as
Whatever you want to
report
do, you can do.
said.
I'm just letting you know, that was what that guy said about all the revival styles.
Okay.
so.
But could I just say back to the process is, you weren't here when we did this, but we had to redo plaques because even though everybody thought we were on the same page, then when we actually saw it written, and Sherry will agree to that, then we weren't happy with it.
Smith
So I'm just gonna ask you,
Well,
does it make a difference to you if we did wait
No, I
one
don't
more
care.
month?
But I just
Because-
feel, I guess the underlying energy is that it always takes us months and months to do anything.
Right, I agree.
So that's all I'm responding to. I don't care. I'll get the plaque when I get the plaque. It's fine. I don't care.
But, it is your plaque, and you should be happy with it, so
Yeah,
if you're
same
happy with it,
2000.
I'm gonna be happy
Well,
with it.
why don't I read it and you
Okay,
see if
that's
you're
good.
happy with it, and if there's
Please.
any reason that I don't care when I get the plaque. Is that fair enough? Good
Maybe
enough?
it may even be helpful to close your eyes as we read.
Yeah, everybody close their eyes, even me.
So, if we get it with content that we all like, there's still the question of not missing a typo. Can it at least go to Cindy? So,
Well, I'll type it and send it to Sherry.
okay, but you'll see it on the plaque before it goes, so you can be another set of eyes. Because it's just,
The two
if it
plaques,
just goes to the homeowner and she just double checks it for typos, I just don't want to do another plaque twice again.
the reason the two plaques were redone was more than just a typo or more than just a small phrase. So there were historic items that were double-checked from the reports and corrected. And
What
so
plaques are you guys talking about?
Smith Hobson and the Nordhoff Grammar
Oh,
School.
Oh.
No, just
Goodness.
this one.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, do you guys want to
Okay,
hear
yes,
what I
please.
Okay,
think
yeah.
might be
Please.
okay? I hope. Okay, close your eyes. This Austin Pierpont house was designed for silent screen star Estelle Clark. The residence was constructed in 1928. The Estelle Clark house exemplifies a rare example of the 1920s Tudor Revival architectural style and is a classic example of an early Hollywood-era Tudor-style residence in Ojai. Like other examples of the Tudor Revival style, the house's decorative forms include leaded windows and arched doorways. The steeply pitched roofs are typical of the style. The tower is the most prominent feature, which encloses a circular staircase to the second floor. Other defining features of the two-story home are gables over exterior doors and leaded pane windows. arrow slit windows, an oriel bay window, a Tudor front door, cast iron decorative hardware and sconces, etched ceiling fixtures, parquet floors, bifold doors, and a stained glass picture window. The existing landscape, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, I like it.
I did find something. It says at the top, second paragraph, like other examples of the Tudor Revival style, the house's decorative forms include leaded windows and arched doorways. And then down, again, it says other defining
Yeah.
features are leaded pane windows. So it's kind of redundant, isn't
It
it?
is.
Shouldn't it be the other defining features are gables, arrow slit windows, oriel bay window, Tudor front door? I don't think leaded pane windows should be in there twice.
Okay.
What do you guys think? Do you want me to read through it again without that?
No, you can just read that part.
I want to read the whole paragraph again so that
Yes,
we're
please,
happy.
please do.
Like other examples of the Tudor Revival style, the house's decorative forms include leaded windows and arched doorways. The steeply pitched roofs are typical, should it be plural or singular? Roof? The steeply pitched roof is? Or the steeply pitched roofs? Because it's got different
There's
lines.
all kinds of different roofs.
Plural, okay.
I would go with plural.
The steeply pitched roofs are typical of the style. The tower is the most prominent feature, which encloses a circular staircase to the second floor. Other defining features of the two-story home are gables over exterior doors, arrow slit windows, an oriel bay window, a Tudor front door, cast iron decorative hardware and sconces, etched ceiling fixtures, parquet floors, bifold doors, and a stained glass picture window.
Works
That
for me.
sound reasonable?
Mhm.
Okay, so it's actually smaller, like we lost some. I'll- The first paragraph? I'll write it down. I'll send it to you, Sherry, but you can write it. This Austin Pierpont house was designed for silent screen star Estelle Clark. The residence was constructed in 1928. The Estelle Clark house exemplifies a rare example of the 1920s Tudor Revival architectural style and is a classic example of an early Hollywood-era Tudor-style residence in Ojai. It's actually the only example of a Tudor-style residence in Ojai. Yes.
The only example.
It's instead of classic and is the only example.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Aren't there any on the east end?
And there's no Tudor revival from the 20s. It's the only 1920s
Okay.
landmark. There's
well-
a Tudor revival that's from like 2005.
Yeah, that's not Tudor.
I was trying to figure out where the other one was.
Right.
Yeah, it's the only one.
I guess my question, 1104, isn't
That's
that
in
a
French
Tudor-
Normandy.
Oh, okay. I'm confused. Okay.
I thought they
That's
were
not
calling
Tudor
it
revival.
Tudor.
It's French Normandy.
Well, what does the report say? That's
Yeah,
why-
I don't know, but I don't
I'm
think
gonna have
it's
to look at that
Tudor
again.
revival.
I don't know, but it is a landmark now.
Because they said it was the same
But
as
we
your
can't
house,
say
which
the
I said I
only-
didn't think it
Different
was.
If we called that one a
Craig didn't
Tudor
call it
revival.
Tudor.
Well, then, yeah, we'll need to look
It
at
had
that.
Tudor features, but it's not a
Tudor
Tudor
feature.
revival. Anyway. Oh my God. Okay. So I will type that and send that to you, Sherry. Okay. Did you write it? Did you get it all? Okay. No problem. Well, you
So
can
what did
watch-
you say 1104 was, Normandy?
I think it's
She
French
said-
Normandy.
I'm
French?
not sure that's what it says. in
I
the
don't really
report,
think
though.
it
Well,
is.
that's what I'm going to check.
Yeah, let's check the report.
So,
It's French Provincial or French Normandy. It's like a
It changed then, because they
country
said
home.
Tudor. That's what he told, the owner told me, Tudor.
Yeah, I'll check the report.
Yeah.
It's still out. We, like,
is it appropriate to make a motion now?
absolutely.
Then I make a motion that we accept the wording as read by Commissioner Condrey.
Just chug these. Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Vote, Sherry?
Okay, James?
Yeah.
Condry?
Yes.
Quinn?
Yes.
Akins?
Yes.
McCadden?
Okay. Chug-a-lug. Okay. Okay, item number 3, proposed items to discuss at the March 10th, 2020 joint meeting with the city council, which is next month. It got postponed a month. I think Planning Commission got in there for one of their early meetings.
They snuck in, yes.
Yep.
But we are next in line. Well, this commission is next in line.
Yes.
Uh,
Go ahead.
So I've taken a look at and provided, I would say, 4 suggested topics for the upcoming joint meeting. We can certainly discuss them. I pulled these from, I would say, past examples of discussion pieces. Being that this is my first joint meeting, I'm not sure that these are the items that this commission wants to take forward for discussion and look for direction through council, through this joint meeting. But certainly that's the point for this discussion tonight, as we near this joint meeting, as it comes up. So certainly it's open for discussion.
I think you pulled the correct things. I mean, I would, if you present it out to the city, I would put downtown first, then Boyd Center, then library or somewhere. You know, I would just make downtown first, wouldn't you say?
Yes, be very diligent about the order. What we found out with the joint meeting with the Planning Commission is that they had 3 items
Yeah.
for discussion, and the first item, with an hour, you have 60 minutes, right?
Mhm.
That first 45 minutes was the first item, and then the last 2 really kind of got lost in the shuffle.
Okay.
On the,
I have some other thoughts, but other people?
the general plan update, were we?
That's
gonna
number
be
4 on the next page.
Doing that one anyway, or was that something the city council was gonna do, or?
I added that one, and the reason why is we are gearing up for it in terms of public participation.
So maybe we should do that so we can learn more about it.
In terms of how I'm looking at it, the general plan should probably be first. That way you can get some guidance on what this commission's role is going to be with the general plan update, which is coming forward. With the planning commission, at the end of that, the determination was to have a standing item on their agenda in terms of updates regarding the general plan. In some cases, there would be a lot to talk about. In some cases, there may not be, right?
Yeah.
So that's, I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen with this commission, but that's the end result with the general plan discussion, so.
Okay. Thais, do you have thoughts?
Well, I do agree about the general plan because it could actually affect the downtown historic district. So I do agree that we should hear an update, but I wouldn't want to do, like was stated, discuss it for most of the meeting, because I would like to get to some of these other things. And I would put downtown second, and then third and fourth is my order.
Okay.
Agree with that?
Chair McCatton?
Yeah, especially with it being our 100th anniversary, I think having a conversation with the council about the historic district is a really timely, important to do it then, number 1, or 2 after the general plan.
Okay, so a couple things for your edification. We have this thing called Historic Structures of Merit. Number 23 on the Historic Structures of Merit, and it's on the Historic Preservation Commission page under the City of Ojai. Number 23 on that is the Boyd Center. So it has been there, and we have discussed it quite a few times. The Boyd Center is owned by the City of Ojai. I've been assured personally by the mayor that that building is not going anywhere, no matter what the or the Parks and Rec decide. So as long as Mayor Johnson is still here, I'm not too worried about it.
So
the Ojai Library is owned by the county, so we need to keep that in mind. My suggestion would be to do the Downtown Historic District and get a firm buy-in from the City Council. Last year, we spent the hour talking about the Downtown Historic District and thought we had their support. And then when the budget cycle came up, Councilman Wyrick asked, why is the HPC using staff time on this project that hasn't been approved by the council yet? Even though all of us and most of the council people thought that we had agreed to move forward on that. So, my suggestion would be to get buy-in from the council on that first. And the reason I would move that before the general plan update is the general plan update is something that's going to take 1 to 2 years. 3?
Yeah, you're looking at 18 months to 2 years.
You're right. So you know, I'm not much on sitting around for 18 to 24 months for them finally to remember, oh yeah, that HPC, we need to ask them what their thoughts are. And so that's why I would suggest doing the downtown historic district. But I also agree that we need to get guidance from them on what I think one is to introduce that we want to be a part of the general plan update, and two is to get feedback from them on what they think our part of them might be. So I think those are both equally important. I'd just rather not sit around and wait for 18 to 24 months while they
Sure.
don't think about us.
Absolutely. That's the purpose of this discussion tonight.
Yes,
Very good.
Commissioner Comfrey.
One of the experiences I had at the joint meeting last year, and it was new city council members, is that they really were unfamiliar with historic preservation and the benefits of historic preservation as far as the city goes. And I know that the Boyd Center is a really good example of why preservation is important and what it means. And that's why Mayor Johnson he's aware of the history of the Boyd Center. That's why he's about, protecting that. What I'd like to suggest is somewhere in the hour, hopefully at the beginning, when we're talking about preservation, that I can make a paragraph or two and talk about what preservation does for a community, how it benefits the community financially, and how it has benefited other communities, financially in California. Because, money talks, and that's really what the council is up against, is financial pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that speaks to the downtown historic district, the Boyd Center, and of course to the library. But it's much better to very clearly explain why this benefits you. Yes, it doesn't seem that great at first, but in the end of the day, it's like paying off your credit card every month, It's really good for you, and it's good for everyone. So maybe that wasn't the best example, but it's something like that. It's painful, and it's good for you. So I would like to ask that if I could prepare some description of what preservation is, how it's benefited the most valuable town in California, Carmel, Pasadena, and how it's made those towns extremely valuable. And I think that will help.
I think that's a fabulous suggestion.
Is there a way we could have maybe 2 Mondays before our meeting and have our ad hoc get together, just so we can maybe come a little prepared and before we go?
On the downtown thing?
Our ad hoc for the downtown.
We could do
District.
that, but my suggestion was just about what preservation
Right.
does,
No,
not
no, I think that's a great idea.
separately, the downtown, yeah.
So, on your suggestion, we currently have 5 commissioners. I don't think, and correct me, I don't think that we can have an ad hoc committee that was legal when we had 7, and I don't think it's legal now that we have 5 sitting members.
Yeah, so the most you could have on that
Would be 2.
Yeah, because you can have a majority.
Yeah, that's been my concern.
I was going to say something, but you've already.
Yeah, and at maybe the last council meeting, in one of the times I got up, I did remind folks that we're down to 5 commissioners and have 2 vacancies, and remind them of the issue we had on when we considered your property, and 11 hours to get here from Atlanta. So
My first meeting.
yeah, so yes.
Well, then, maybe the first topic of conversation should be getting 2 more commissioners, because you'll have them in a very informal situation and a good time to say. We have a perfect example here of a committee that had to pull in its shirt tails because of not having.
But does the city, our joint meeting, I think we can get 2 commissioners and they can apply for the job and get approved. I don't want to waste our whole hour.
The council has to has to do that,
Y-
if they're not willing to do it.
I've reminded them at every opportunity we can, so.
Okay, well, then I would say one more thing.
And the pressure actually is on the mayor. The mayor is the one that starts the ball rolling.
Okay,
And He then talks to Gail, who is the one who places the advertisements. And unless he talks to Gail, Gail doesn't do anything or
Okay.
can't do anything. And so, and what I was told by our James Vega was that they had just finished a whole, you get in the pipe work, they had just finished putting in a whole bunch of commissioners that they had vacancies for that happened before our commissioners went vacant. So they did those all in one session. And so we're in the next group whenever that takes place.
Okay, well, if I can make one more comment.
Of
then.
course.
The reason that I wanted to discuss the general plan, and you can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but the general plan can designate not to put any limitations or anything else on it, but just in the general plan. This is the historic district of Ojai. It doesn't change anything, it's just a designation. And then this would be what comes and becomes the official and thing. So that's why I think that the two kind of go hand in hand, because if they don't take any interest in it in the general plan, then this will be a lot harder. So that's why I'm saying the two could be done together.
I agree with you. I believe they flow together. And certainly, that could be something that's even identified within the work plan
Yeah,
of the
that's
general
fine.
plan, the implementation plan, which comes as a result of that general plan update.
Again, I agree that they were of equal importance, but having been sat through a lot of council meetings, I would just like to make sure that somewhere in that meeting, we get that buy-in from the city council.
I agree with that. That's why I said I don't want to spend the whole meeting discussing the general plan, and I would only really want to discuss the part that really affects
Us.
us.
Yeah.
And one point, and I love Cindy's idea of educating
I
them in somewhat.
completely.
But the other thing is, I was just on a tour of the southeast coast, and every town you went into, you knew exactly where the historic district was, a big, huge
Right.
sign there. And this is a general plan function first, and then we just like slip into that. I think that from a tourist standpoint, unless they take the walking tour, nobody really knows. So I think that's a good point to make to the council.
Agree.
Standing my ground.
Fair point.
Yep. Like I said, my point is, no matter which one is in order, as you said, they're both equally important. But if I walk away from that meeting at 7:00 without getting their buy-in for a downtown historic district, then that, when we got that kind of took the wind out of my sails on making it a priority and getting it done. When, we spent an hour talking to them about it, got buy-in from everybody, we thought, and then that comes up. So that's my goal.
I'm hearing that there are two items certainly that are rising to the very top of the surface. And
Yeah, number 2 and 3 after Cindy's, I think we're all in agreement
Right.
with.
right,
Cindy.
so it sounds to me like it would be the downtown historic district in terms of that designation and that work plan or workflow in terms of how that would end up working out, and the council giving direction to the commission regarding that. And then the second is the general plan
Well-
update.
Well, you've had experience with the general plan,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You've probably had experience with setting aside landmarks.
Mm-hmm.
So, is it okay if we just leave it in Lucas' hand to decide on where we are?
It's a lot
in
of
the-
trust.
I-
Here's
well-
here's what I'm thinking.
Again, I don't know which is the most important. I just want to come.
I think that they flow together. And
Yeah,
I think as you discuss one, you also discuss the other. So having both of those items and interchanging between the two isn't saying that we're talking about one versus the other. You're talking about both.
so we'll make them number 2, both of them.
Or, yeah.
They could both be number 2.
Yes.
I mean, if you put numbers on it, it sounds to me like the downtown historic district is the piece that you're wanting to get either buy-in or direction on from the council.
What if you call the general plan vis-à-vis historic downtown?
Could do that with a hyphen or something like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
the general plan.
Yeah, like I said,
Okay.
One thing.
I put them all, both as
Yeah.
two.
I would like it as
Because
just
I
one
don't know which
discussion.
one's more important.
Yeah.
I just know they're both important.
Yeah,
Yeah, they need to be one
Yeah.
thing.
right.
You can
And
combine
how
them.
long does it take to get buy-in after Cindy's speech? Does it take quite a while?
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Well, and I think the other question that I had for this commission is the March 10th meeting, are you all going to be able to attend? Is it, I'm not going to see any, right? Everybody's,
Right here.
nobody's doing a flight and driving,
Yeah,
I don't plan to fall again.
no one's falling.
unless we fall.
We will be here.
Okay. Well, good.
Okay, calendar, March 10th.
Can I say something about a previous topic?
Mm-hmm.
So are we okay to move then on, previous to item 3? Is that what you're
Yes.
talking about?
No, this is, I just texted Craig Walker. I asked him if he felt it was a French Normandy or Tudor revival, and he replied Tudor revival.
That's what I
Which?
said.
Really?
For,
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I thought it
That's
was.
what the owner said.
For
So we
11:04.
won't, so I'll put, so Sherry can change it back.
Yeah, so,
A classic example.
yeah,
So
so
classic.
Craig wrote the addendum to the historical report that was done by Sam. So Sam Buenaventura, Research Associates, did a report for them back in 2016.
Yeah.
Okay, then based on that report, they made some changes and some restorations. And so then Craig came in and he did an addendum report to that,
Yeah, I
so.
read it.
Right. I just want to make sure we're staying on topic here.
Yeah.
I appreciate that
Classic.
dialogue, but
wanted to go,
Great, thank you. Okay,
okay.
I think we're in agreement now, though, aren't we?
now the
number
Ojai
3.
Library, do you also want that on there as a discussion piece, or do you?
I don't think we'll get to it.
I don't think there's enough time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
okay, we'll have that. Well,
It's a good effort.
counting
I
the
was
number-
only listing
counting
items.
the
I
number
wasn't
of
sure of
times
their
we've actually
importance.
talked about
What's
the library and the,
too,
It's a
so.
fantastic building.
Just
it
one
is.
combined bullet, right?
Yeah,
Right.
I think
Yes.
that's gonna take
All
the
right.
whole time.
I think so too. And I was talking about this with Lucas. So if it takes place like it normally takes place unexpectedly, then I'll be driving the agenda. So I'll make sure that that all of that is equally expressed, rather than the mayor doing the meeting. I always get there thinking the mayor's going to do it and he looks
Oh,
at
no,
me.
we should, yes.
Yeah,
I
so,
can-
yeah, so, okay, number 2, number 3, number 4. So informational items, Downtown Historic District Ad Hoc Committee update. Lucas and I, per Lucas's suggestion, are now meeting a week after this meeting takes place, so we can refresh what took place in the meeting and also talk about what the agenda is going to be at the next meeting in 3 weeks. And part of the reason, I'm like, wow, what do I meet on 3 weeks before a meeting? Nothing. Other priorities. But as he pointed out, and Sherry pointed out to me, there are things that take so much time ahead of time that's why we have to set the agenda almost 3 weeks.
Right. We start looking at items almost a month in advance.
That's good,
So,
because I don't think we did that before.
Well, we've tried.
well, we're here now, so.
Yes, so anyway, so the week after this meeting, Lucas and I will be talking. So
Okay.
if you have anything of importance that, you think of needs to go that far. Okay, so informational items. The Downtown Historic District Ad Hoc Committee update was one of the recurring items that I wanted to see on here, as well as, of course, future agenda items. We've answered the question that the ad hoc can only be 2 individuals. So if it's okay with everybody, that would be, unless you two want to work on it,
You go.
then I
Don't
can
worry
work
about
with, I'll work with Gina.
So after your meeting, can we meet sometime before the joint commission meeting with the council?
Yeah, I'm welcome to meet after we have the city council meeting. No, that was a good suggestion. So we'll meet before that, sometime before that?
Yes.
Okay, great, excellent. Future agenda items,
Did we do this thing?
that's the,
The historic preservations, item number 4?
are you talking about the map?
Yeah.
That's just from before.
Oh, okay, all right.
Brian,
Yeah, the map was attached to the joint meeting discussion.
Oh, okay. I
To give
thought it
some
was
context.
supposed to be part of that, but I guess not. Okay.
Yes,
so now I have a question. So you're going to meet before the.
before the
Before the-
council meeting.
So is there any way we can know what, I mean,
No.
because then I might say something completely opposite of what you two decided if we don't.
That's what,
I mean, so you can't send it to Sherry and Sherry send it to us, no? Okay.
Because they're-
So
they're their own
well, I
committee.
think what we could do, and the two bosses here can correct me, is we can put a summary of that ad hoc committee meeting together, and then we can pass that out once we get in the joint meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the summary
So-
would be fine, but actions or deliberation regarding an item that's not on an agenda or
sound
public
good?
hearing.
Okay.
Well,
That-
that's all I meant, is just informational of where we are, because I don't even know really where, I mean, I know where we are, but not if something changes.
Sure, you want a refresher, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we'll put together a summary sheet and have that at the meeting, because that's
Okay.
legal.
Perfect.
Okay? Our cheat sheet.
Just come early. No.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, my point, my biggest thing that I think we need to do is to let them know that we would like to have on the general plan that this area, as we're describing here on the map,
Yes.
described as a historical district. So that then when we actually bring it before them, it's already there.
Yes.
It's, it's already, so I just would like to make sure that that gets in their heads, that that's what we're thinking.
yes.
That's what I'm thinking. I hope we're thinking it.
I think we are. Yes. I agree. Okay, future agenda items, do we have something way back at the back?
Yes. I have a question.
Okay.
Okay.
You have some other things, but they'll go under commissioner comments. Okay, so future agenda items, that's back there on item number 5. We have the joint meeting, which we just talked about. And March 12th, staff report? What's, March 12th, you have 2 items on there.
Right, so it's the 718 Foothill Road, the historic landmark number 13. And that,
That's the O.W. Robertson House,
correct,
Cindy's former home.
correct.
And what are we doing there?
Well, they've done some renovations, and it's
okay.
called into question whether or not it's a part of the landmark designation and whether or not it's outside of that. The assistant city manager, Joe Fish, has been working on that as well. And I think he provided a summary, either the meeting or the meeting
Last
before.
Monday, last
Was it-
meeting, yeah, last
last
month.
meeting?
Yeah, there was just a summary in there.
You weren't here,
So-
we got a page about it.
Yeah, we're working towards getting something on the agenda. I can't guarantee that it'll be on the March 12th, but that's what we're shooting for right now.
Okay, and that sheet of paper that we got came at that meeting, so Vice Chair Quinn, I don't think, has seen that.
Right, so you would have
Oh,
gotten, you all would have
I think it
received
was-
the packet
was
in the
it in the
mail.
packet
It
or was
wasn't in the
on
packet. It
table?
got, Joe handed it to us that meeting.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't get it.
So Sherry, would you be able to send a copy to her? So Sherry
We
will.
can get you that information.
Okay, thank
you.
you.
Yeah, it
To
was
see that.
seen that when we got here to sit down.
Yeah, because I watched the meeting on TV, but I didn't really hear any
We-
discussion.
we
on it.
Minutes of talk about it.
Purposely couldn't talk about it
Right,
because it
so I'm just
wasn't on
saying,
the
so I
agenda.
don't, I'm like,
Yeah,
That's if we could see.
yeah,
it.
we weren't keeping anything from you, but again, it showed up when we got here. Okay, and then the plaque language for the Ojai Playhouse Theater.
Yes.
Excellent.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Okay. And also, can we put the plaque language, since the 1104 Foothill Road was just approved Tuesday night? Can we review plaque language at that meeting also for that?
We could.
Be
Yeah,
nice.
we would just need to contact the owners to make sure that we need to make them aware of the financial impact that they have.
Okay, are you going to contact them? Do you want me to contact them?
Yes.
Okay.
Either or.
I have a question about that, since I I don't remember being made aware of the financial impact of the plaque. I just got a bill in the
Yes.
mail.
So that is not,
Here, $500, you know, like
Right.
whatever it was Sherry called me. So,
so that's
yeah.
something that wasn't, from what I gather, it's something that wasn't made aware of the applicants previous to that or a condition.
Oh,
We're working on that into the future,
Oh,
where
okay.
it's not a requirement within the code.
to have a plaque?
Correct. It's
Oh.
not a requirement,
Hmm.
but Chair Akins and I had a discussion on that, and I agree with his logic on it. While it's not required in the code, if you go through this process, then what's the point if you don't have a plaque?
Yeah.
So once he made that point, I was like, yeah, you're absolutely right. But for me, in terms of how I look at situations like this, I'm looking at what the code requires. If the code requires it, then certainly we move forward with it. If it's conditioned, then we move forward with it so that applicant.
Would it be
Is
a
aware of
code issue, or would it be the landmark, I didn't know the landmark status was a code description, because when I went through the process, I was just told, these are the costs, and this is what happens, and you get a plaque. You know, I didn't know that it had to be codified.
Yes, these are all provided within the municipal code.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a code
Process.
section we worked on for 4 years, and then the ad hoc committee did some adjustments. Actually, they were improvements. Hard to believe. And we discussed that both in our meeting and in that meeting on, whether to make it a requirement or a nicely worded suggestion,
Strong suggestion.
strong suggestion.
I think making it a condition provides that
Yeah,
applicant
it should be a
the
condition.
knowledge and understanding of that.
Mhm.
One of the reasons why the Ojai Playhouse is on the 12th, we were initially anticipating it being on this meeting. We made those owners aware of that, and then they said, we need to go back to the table and have that discussion with the owners to see,
About a plaque?
well, about the payment of the plaque.
Yeah. It's precedent. Every landmark has a plaque that I know of around here.
Sure, you would want that. I agree with that.
Yeah, it's precedent.
I'm just looking for the code requirement for it.
Yeah.
And if it's not a code requirement, then it needs to be a condition.
Then legally, they don't have to do it if it's not.
Yeah, and that's been the case for a
That's
while.
the
We
challenge.
have had plaques that were made up and then presented, and the owner said, thank you very much, and essentially closed the door.
Yeah.
Never to see the plaque again. And so, that issue goes back and forth.
Right.
So we tried to take the, we'll be nice, and hopefully you'll be nice, and you'll put a plaque up kind of venture. Yes. So Thais has also had experience with plaques.
Did you have to put the plaque up yourself? How'd you, oh.
I did. But I would like to say, since they and I are getting a benefit for having the Mills Act and for having a landmark status, I mean, it just kind of feels like the least you can do is put up a plaque.
Yeah.
And the small amount that the plaque costs, I think this one out here probably cost a ton, but I think most plaques are pretty small, and it doesn't cost that much. And you're gonna have the tax savings, which is way more than the cost of the plaque. So I think it should be a condition, and.
You mean the tax savings from the Mills Act?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
But,
and-
but not every landmark has a.
no, I'm
Mills-
saying if you get the Mills
So,
Act.
yeah.
Because, I mean, very few of them just get it for a landmark
I gotta
unless
say, I
we're.
don't think you should tie it into the Mills Act, because if it's a city landmark, or if it's a whatever landmark, I think it muddies the waters. I think it should just be a requirement of a landmark to have a plaque, period, because it benefits the city, tough luck.
I guess I agree with you, except that in this case with the Playhouse, they didn't request the landmark, and so it kind of feels like,
Oh, right.
like a
Yeah.
a punishment, or, it's when they didn't request it. Yes, they're in favor of it, they supported it, but they didn't request it, so then now asking them for money seems kind of, wrong. But if I came to the city and I applied, then that's a different case.
But maybe that's the language, is if the city deems it a landmark, the city pays for the plaque and mounts it. I think that's fair.
Sounds
And
fair.
anyone who
Fair to me.
applies has to pay the fees.
And the city did pay for the
Yeah.
grammar school.
Yeah,
'Cause there
it's a
was no way they
city-owned
were gonna
property,
pay it.
but it's not a privately owned property. But, I think that's a really good conversation to have.
That's a good point.
Because,
agree.
it's like what, how much is it? It's not, yeah, it's not a
Yeah,
deal
roughly
breaker.
$500.
Mounting
Larger
it
ones can
is-
be over, obviously over 1,000.
Yeah, and that's something, but I do think that when the city says you're a landmark, I don't think they should be held up. That's fair enough. Yeah.
And maybe
Sounds
make
good.
that retroactive. No,
Yeah.
just kidding.
So should that be like written down somewhere, or is that just recorded in your mind now? I mean,
Well, it will have to be written down in terms
Okay.
of conditions of approval
Okay.
or
Yeah,
codified.
Yeah, it would have to be a change to the historical.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want
section
to
of the
get
code.
too far down the rabbit hole regarding
Right.
items like that, which haven't been on the agenda, so.
so maybe that should go on a future agenda item, is landmark plaques, who pays for what, yakety yak.
Put that on a future agenda for
Don't put
discussion.
yakety yak.
But
Yakety yak? I don't know if that's
Blah,
gonna be the
blah, blah.
subject item.
But couldn't we just, as, if the next one that comes in, just put a condition on it?
Mhm.
But shouldn't we
Yeah, that's what I'm
have,
suggesting.
Yeah.
rather than condition each one as they come along, can't we have it defined?
Sure.
If you apply, you pay for the plaque. If we designate, we pay for the plaque.
It
Right?
can be policy or it can be
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah, or both.
Yeah, or
Yep.
both.
Want to vote on it? No, we can't.
Okay, any other future agenda items for next meeting? Again, 718 Foothill update, plaque language on the theater, and then plaque language on 1104 Foothill.
Yeah.
That'll sound good?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Let's see, if you, planning report.
Just
Uh-oh.
as, before we jump into, the next item, the ad hoc we could also have an item on there for the ad hoc for the historic district designation. It sounds like you will be meeting for the ad hoc.
Yeah, well, that's why I asked that, like, item number 4, that be a regular item on the
Standing
agenda.
item.
Standing item on the agenda, yeah.
So if I want to speak to the pending projects, is that before or after?
That's after the planning report, that's on commission comments. It may be sooner than you think. Do you have a planning report for
I
us,
do
Lucas?
not for this,
Okay.
not for this
Okay.
meeting.
Okay. Yes, go ahead, Gina.
Okay, I have a question. I want to reach out to the Arts Commission. I spoke to a couple of them at our dinner, a holiday dinner, about doing something with the youth and our 100-year and down the historic district, or the area that we all, our core area. How would I go about getting on their agenda to come and speak to them?
So, the assistant city manager, Joe Fiss, he's the one that staffs that commission.
Okay,
You may want to reach out to him
okay,
and ask that question.
okay. So that's the quarterly reach-out discussion part of the pending project. The other thing I just wanted to, in comments, commissioner comments, is I was looking for a photo of the theater for our Facebook page, and I came across the architects and their page of their renderings and drawings and everything, and I didn't want any reply back from you all, because I didn't want to cause any issue, but I didn't feel like I wanted to have that information to myself. I thought it was relevant. So right before our meeting, I just sent it out to everyone, just the link to the architect, because I found it very interesting. But I asked on the top of it that do not reply to it, do not comment to me at all.
Or
So-
reply to
Yeah, you
Shane.
still can't do that.
I can, if I don't ask
No.
for a,
Well, you can.
I think I can. I mean, I went to,
You're the
You're the city council. you
providing
might
the
be able to do it.
information is one thing. Replying and commenting on it
Right.
is another. I think
asked
that's
for
where
no-
you got to really.
no comments back to me on it. That's why I wanted to clarify it to you guys.
yeah.
Just
The
not-
other thing that I would prefer in situations like that is to send it to me first.
In the
Okay.
past, I've sent things
To Sherry.
generally to Sherry, and
Yeah,
then she
because
just.
Ask
I
her
can
to
always
send
send out a blind CC to the.
Perfect, I will. But I didn't want it to,
No, it's.
I didn't want to not mention it tonight, so I just wanted to know, but I did it right before I came over, just so you'd all have it. Because I didn't want to have this information that I was privy to that you didn't have, and so I just sent it, but I don't want any comments on it, so.
So I'm,
But I did do training with the Brown Act and for the Ojai Unified and Ventura County, so I think I'm okay there to just send it out, but I will do it that way from now on.
yeah, I would appreciate it. I've been caught in the middle sometimes where I'm basically having to tell people, leave me alone because you're making me very uncomfortable. So, yeah, like I said, I always send thanks for Sherry and ask her. Okay. So a couple things on my list. Since anytime there's something that affects the city affects us, I go to the city council. And in case you've seen the Ojai Valley News, council considers cracking down on commission absences. They were supposed to talk about it, They were supposed to talk about it again. Every so often, every year, the city council reviews absences. This is what they get sent. This is coming out of the council packet, not a packet we've seen. You can see it for all the different commissioners, and then you can see our attendance roll. And so, basically, they have been trying to crack down on it. One of the things that they've said, if you look in the commissioner handbooks, up to 3 absences you can get by, but at that level, you're maybe questioned. If you have a 4th absence, basically you're off the commission. However, you can stay on the commission and continue to function until you're replaced or your term ends. They ended up with a lot of discussion going back and forth on that at the city council meeting, the last one in January. Mayor Johnson and Bill Wyrick are the ad hoc committee. I thought they were going to bring it back last night. They didn't. So they're talking about what happens on that. So I think, and Sherry can correct me, if you're going to be absent for a commission meeting, if you could please let Sherry know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then, if you don't mind, maybe, hey, I'm going to be out of town, or there's an illness or family emergency, something.
Or I slipped and fell.
Yeah.
Or I slipped and fell. Kind of a general thing. What that does is that helps because somewhere in here, sometimes you'll see, if you look in the bottom right-hand corner on this, you'll see meeting-specific notes, all absences due to travel. It takes, it lists, Akins was traveling on December 12th.
Except on mine, it didn't have.
Absences due to illness were reported with as much advance notice as possible and are as follows. So you can see that in the bottom right-hand corner. Yeah, just a second.
Okay.
So it's just something that they are tracking, again, made the newspaper, and something that we need to be aware of.
Yeah, I had an
Yes.
illness that I, brought to your attention, but it
Right.
wasn't on here.
Right.
And it was a doctor's note, and I
Yeah,
sent it,
and when I spoke at that meeting, I mentioned that we had
Okay.
accounted for
Yeah.
that information, and I had it, if they asked in detail, they didn't ask in
They
detail.
didn't, okay.
They
And
didn't.
I also didn't know that joint meetings were counted as HPC meetings, so they are, okay, I didn't know.
They are, and that's in the code and in
Okay.
the
I didn't
in the
see that.
manual we have. So again, just, we should all be aware that they're watching that.
Okay.
They are, Councilwoman Francina said, and I think in talking about us, you're not looking to lower it to 5. And they said, no, we're not looking to lower it to 5, because again, I brought the issue that we're missing to, because I'm very leery of them doing that. So far, the only ones they've done that to is the Planning Commission.
I have a question, though. We meet once a month. The Board of Building Appeals Board, which has 0 absences, meets like twice a year.
Yeah,
And they barely meet
As
at all.
needed,
And the Planning Commission, do they meet twice a month?
they do.
So it seems
No,
like
they
there
don't.
should be, do they?
They
Once a month or
meet, they meet twice a month,
Yeah.
but no, that doesn't mean they get twice as many
Right,
absences.
but I feel like, I'm fine, we're good to go over here in
Right.
historic preservation, but it almost feels a little bit unbalanced as far as how many meetings people have and how many absences.
Yeah, that
are.
question came up amongst the council,
Yeah.
but the answer was no.
Yeah.
They get the same amount as everybody else that meets once a month.
Just checking.
That's kind of scary, the planning commission.
See me after that meeting. Okay, the other thing is that, and Gail sent me mine back, is, have you turned in this form yet?
No,
So, okay.
I haven't.
So, yeah, I gave mine to Gail Tuesday night. She sent it back with the little stamp on the top. Basically, I think we have until like April 7th.
Did you just do that one page?
Why?
I don't know, I gave it to Mel because they stamped it. It's the first time I've gotten one back.
I've never gotten one back either. Okay.
I handed it to her Tuesday night at the council meeting. Maybe that's why. So those are the two items that I had just to keep us
On our toes?
on our toes, I guess. I'm always watching out for us with the council.
Good meeting.
Yes. This, I'll tell you after the meeting. So, anything else? No? No? You're healing?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Good.
I'm not fine. My arm's broken.
Do you wear hockey gear now when you go out with a
You know,
helmet?
I'm scared to walk anywhere. People bump into you. They
Oh,
don't
that
know
must
where they're
hurt,
walking.
yeah.
I'm like going through town going, oh my gosh, don't touch me.
Don't walk around.
Well, we're very glad that you're well enough to be here.
Or else, do you know what else they do? They hug you.
Oh,
And they
no.
grab your shoulder while they're hugging you, which is broken. And it's like,
You need like a sling so people know. It's hard to
but
tell.
then you have holes in your
Oh, you
arm.
can't.
Oh,
I'm good.
Good.
Right.
just go
Anything
really
else?
early in the morning to the store.
Okay, we're done. Thank you.
The middle of the night. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't need you to.
Thais,
to be.
your coins, Thais, are those real coins? Can I see them? Because are they silver?
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
That is the water
Wow,
drop.
you're